out, and it's nice to meet you all. I know you want me to talk about my son, Jackson. Jackson was such a nice boy. It was just me and him. We kept each other company, Jackson and I. He did well in school, played in the band, saxophone. He planned on going away for school. I told him I would miss him, but it would be good for him to be away. He loved me. Told me all the time, I love you, Mama. I could still feel his little arms wrapped around my neck, so tight. I love you, Mama. And he did. Now I know you all want me to talk about what Jackson did, but that's not who Jackson was. That's not who Jackson is. I want to tell you about my son, not about what he did. Love is supposed to be unconditional, but what would you do if your parent, friend, sibling, child committed a heinous crime? Sue Klebold, the mother of Columbine shooter Dylan Klebold, said in her memoir, A Mother's Reckoning, "There is perhaps no harder truth for a parent to bear, and it is a truth no parent on earth knows better than I do. It is this: love is not enough." When Martha Linwood's son Jackson commits an unspeakable act, she is forced to confront a reality no parent should ever have to face. And in doing so, she must reevaluate the landscape of her very own love. A Nice Boy by Alyssa Sachak. Oh, Jackson was such a good baby. He was so quiet and happy. His daddy left us when he was only a few years old, but we did all right by ourselves. I never remarried. Jackson's daddy wasn't good to me, and I had no reason to see how anyone else could do us any better. But my baby didn't want anything, believe me. I took good care of Jackson. I don't know if he ever missed his father. He never really knew him, but I like to think I did an all right job of making sure Jackson felt loved. I only wish I could have protected him from the world outside our home. Children can be so cruel. They picked on him. He's always been sort of skinny and sickly looking since he was young, but I always thought he was so handsome. But he was weaker and not as fast as the rest of the boys in grade school, so he became the butt of some jokes. I did what I could, called his teachers, the principal, the mothers of every bully I heard about. But I don't know. It might have made things worse. You can't protect your children from everything. Just can't. But goodness knows I tried. His middle school years were rough, that's for sure. He loved books, which was wonderful for him, but he was a bit shy. So sometimes he'd come home from school, all upset because the kids were making fun of him for liking a girl. Isn't that just awful? To tease a boy for having a little crush? Well, I guess the kids at school thought no girl would ever like Jackson. But I told him, I said, Jackson, you have one woman who will love you forever. That's your mama. I like to think it helped him to know I was there for him, even if he didn't have any girlfriends or anything. He had a few boys he was friends with, some kids from around the neighborhood, and they stuck by him, at least until they all reached high school. Then they stopped seeing each other so much. This made things hard on Jackson. He didn't know anyone at that big old high school of his, but he tried to meet people. I was the one who told him to join the band, and he met some good kids there. Never quite took to any of them, though. Look, all I know about Jackson's time in high school is that he liked to be alone, nor with me. He was happy with me, I'm telling you. He was fine when he was with me. I couldn't always be with him, though. I think that was the beginning of the problem. I went to school online to get my degree. I'm a nurse, and I started working at the hospital during Jackson's junior year. I worked afternoons and sometimes nights, so Jackson was home alone a lot. He wasn't used to that. I think it made him angry. To not have any close friends or a girlfriend, and then not to have his only family home with him. I think that's what made him so upset, and I'm sorry. I didn't think he'd become so... He's such a smart boy. He's just had trouble socially. I never thought he'd do anything like this. I was working late at the hospital one night, and at around midnight, this girl comes running in. She's all beat up around her face. Her clothes are a mess, but her neck... Well, that was the worst part, you see. She had 2 red marks around her neck like she'd been choked. And she was gasping and crying. So I ran out from around my desk and I asked her, honey, what happened? And she was crying too hard to speak, so I asked her again, honey, what happened to you? And finally, she told me that she had been raped. Well, I knew I had to do something. I had to help this girl. I had to call the police. So I asked her, honey, who did this to you? What's his name? And finally, she said, Jackson Linwood. I asked her to repeat herself, and she said again, Jackson Linwood. Not quite sure what happened after that. I think I may have fainted, but when I woke up, the police were there, and they were asking me all sorts of questions. If Jackson had ever been violent towards me, if he had any girlfriends, where he had been the night before. I said, no, this is all a misunderstanding. You have the wrong boy. I told them it was as simple as that. This girl must have known Jackson from around school and was so traumatized about her ordeal that she mistook her attack for my son. That's all this was. Better than they told me that they had Jackson in custody and that he had admitted to doing that awful thing to that girl, Sarah. Her name is Sarah. And to 2 others earlier in the week. And all I wanted to do was see my baby boy. Because my baby boy, my Jackson, would never do something like this. I never told him much about the birds and the bees. I never told him much about sex. It's my fault. He must have learned from that terrible stuff on the internet. It's my fault he was so repressed. I almost didn't believe it until they had the DNA evidence, and that put him away. Jackson will be almost 50 years old by the time he gets out. They had to try him as an adult, you see, because he's 18 now. I try to visit him as often as I can. It's been hard, what with all your reporters and whatnot around, and this is a small town, so news travels fast, and according to popular opinion, I'm the mother of a monster. But that's not the son I raised. I raised Jackson to be loving towards women. I know I did because he loved me. The court psychologist said Jackson wasn't crazy per se, but that his clinical depression indicates a chemical imbalance which, combined with a need to rebel from an overbearing home life, caused a psychotic break during which time the attacks occurred. Just a bunch of fancy words that ultimately mean I smothered my son. I thought if I had been home more, Jackson would have raped those girls, but it turns out the last thing he needed was more of me. I kept in touch with Sarah. I know it sounds crazy making friends with that girl, but after what Jackson did to her, I felt indebted to her. In a way, I felt I owed her compassion. So I wrote her a letter, apologizing on my son's behalf, and she wrote back. I've been trying to help in whatever way I can, and I like to think we've become friends, of a sort. I guess she barely knew Jackson. They had one class together, she said. That must have been where he noticed her, she said. She told me not to blame myself. I told her it was too late for that. But she's such a good girl. In another world, maybe she and Jackson would have been good for each other. Maybe she would have loved him in a world where he wasn't. Or where he didn't. Well, you know. I'm on my way to visit him now, but I'm certain you reporters already know that. This will be the first time I get to talk to my son without a lawyer present. Look, I'm sure you are all lovely people and you're just trying to do your job, but after today I have to ask, please, leave us alone. Just leave my boy alone. When I see Jackson today, I'm going to ask him if he's sorry for what he's done. And well, I think that he'll say he is. I hope that he'll say he is. I love my son. I love my son no matter what terrible things he may have done to those women. So now you know. Now you believe me when I tell you. He was such a nice boy. Thank you.